Hello and welcome, Neko here with another video. And as you can see from what's going to be one of two screen caps I'm going to be using for this video, I'm definitely going to be talking about a little bit about music that's created by people who enjoy video games, that's influenced by video games. But it isn't just this part of people who create music. There's also others as well. And there is something here that a big reason why I want to talk about this. Because among all the people here, among these songs, there are a lot of people who will only treat one of these songs as real music, which would be Silver Bullet's Soul Reaver. Now, the reason for that is because Silver Bullet is using what would be considered professional equipment. Now, this is not to diminish the other three. These are songs that I do genuinely enjoy. And these are people I do genuinely respect. Stipendium, Aviators, and Sound Virtuoso. Yeah, Sound Virtuoso, which I've just found out about because of a YouTube ad. One of those times where the YouTube ad actually does what it's supposed to do. And I do very much enjoy the music, just as much as I do enjoy Stipendiums and Aviators, as well as Silver Bullet. Now, the thing that gets to me, and one of the things that really got me talking with my previous past, I forget if it's 3 or 4 videos, where I get into the whole nonsense with the rigid cynics. Like, one of the arguments that I have with them, well, against their statements, is this idea of what should be considered real music. It's much like how in ancient times, when it was the church that decided what real music was, and at least according to people like Ted Gioia, there were instances where if it was considered too feminine, well, the song was scrapped from history. So a lot of women-led music were not considered real music. And today we kind of still have something similar to that, except now it's more of a class thing. Now, this isn't going to be me just rambling on about how I believe these people deserve as much respect as Silver Bullet gets. And then just when it comes to video game music, there's a lot of other people who do their own music, be influenced by anime, influenced by another song they've heard, or just something that they come across themselves. Those who are referred to as bedroom musicians. And I do think that it's not right that such people will be disrespected. Now, there's a lot more I want to talk about than that, because I do want to build off of what I've said in previous videos. And that's where this comes in. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, no, I do not think of Rick Beato as a rigid cynic. After all, when it comes to a lot of videos like his, when he talks about like top 10s and top 20s, he does approach it with an open mind. And while, yeah, he does have his criticisms, at the same time, I have my criticisms of those lists as well. Ain't nothing wrong with having a criticism. It's when you get into these nitpicky ideas of what is and isn't a musician. And thankfully, if you paid enough attention to Rick Beato's other videos, you would find that, yeah, he actually is encouraging of the so-called bedroom musician. So there is a sort of respect there. But of course, people got all uppity about Rick Beato because of some things he said. And while I do think that he is skeptical of certain things, and I do think he should look beyond his skepticism, at the same time, I'm not going to look at it as like this class thing, okay? After all, if that was a thing, then he would not be so respectful towards Polyphia. And surprisingly enough, there's a lot of people who, like I said, the same kind of people who will say only Silver Bullet is a real musician are the same kind of people who will say Polyphia is not a real band. And yes, I have actually come across such people, you know. And of course, in Justice, there's also a lot of other things. As I said in previous videos, I don't believe I need to really reiterate. But this was an interesting argument that did go on, you know. And I do make reference of, let's see, Heavy Metal Philosophy and Become the Night, because those two channels actually said best about like the whole thing with Rick Beato's points, as well as Anthony Fantano, who argued directly against Rick Beato. And while I could have and probably should have thrown my hat in the ring on this, I think I would be saying basically the exact same thing that Become the Night has. That was said on Become the Night, you know. And if anything, I would say that channel says it a lot better than I can. And of course, same with Heavy Metal Philosophy. But yeah, when it comes down to it, this idea of what is and what isn't music is a ridiculous thing. And to get uppity just because of things that Rick Beato said, I mean, the only thing he really said, like, to summarize it, there are two things he said. One, the whole thing of streaming services being a waste of with the music. But I mean, the only thing I kind of disagree with Rick Beato on that, because radio exists, and because radio kind of does filter out a lot of what people would consider not real music. It just kind of puts a halt on the culture when it comes to music and things like that. And then there's the whole thing with what the thing that a lot of people really got antsy over, which is about how Rick talks about people's heavy reliance on technology. And to an extent, I do agree with him. There's a lot of people who rely too much on the technology. They'll get their digital audio workstation. They'll just pump in whatever the hell they feel like. And then that's it. And of course, when it comes to AI, they'll just have a machine replicate something rather than create their own thing. A lot of these people use AI. I honestly don't see them doing anything as high as what I've heard with Shaka Punk, which I've referenced in my last video, with Shaka Punk doing their version of Smells Like Teen Spirit, and like adding an epic element to it. Make it more climactic and stuff like that, more into how they feel about the song, rather than just a simple copy paste. And of course, there's others that can be referenced as well, such as the various covers of the song "Careless Whisper." But yes, when it comes down to it, there are a lot of people out there who will say that, well, those are real musicians, even if they're not doing anything music related. And so it is annoying how you got a lot of other people who will do the same thing, probably even put more effort into it, put more virtuosity into it, whatever instrument they play, or whatever effort they put into their singing. And I've ranted about this. I forgot if it was like a couple months ago, maybe it was in the middle of my early July rant, where people like bashing on this vocalist and saying they're somehow 3 times worse than someone whose music can be best described as petty insults. So it's like, so there is that. And of course, as usual, I'm not naming names because I don't I don't want people to just use me as an excuse to start fights with these people. Because that's not what this video is about. This is about the ideas themselves and not the people behind the ideas. The idea of what is it that makes music music. Now, one last thing, that video on the very bottom was again Bradley Hall, the heaviest non-metal songs of all time. This, of course, because of Andy Edwards. Like my last video was talking about Andy Edwards, talking about how music isn't as heavy. And of course, it isn't just about music that's loud, music that's dense. You also music that, at least from what I interpret, as well as what I said when I was talking about sincerity in the performance and the lyrics, which is that like you have heavy in one of three types. You got heavy in the sense of lyrical writing, heavy in the sense of composition, and heavy in the sense of performance. Putting weight into the music. Okay, I had a bit of an interruption there. So to get right to the point, yeah, you got a lot of music out there that, as said by people like Andy Edwards and Rick Beato, that there's not a lot of weight to the music, not a lot of substance to the music. And while I can obviously disagree for days about whether or not there's anything in modern music that has substance to it, as I said at the start of the video, there is the fact that that is not what gets attention by the public. As I said in the previous video, something that I didn't quite understand until after watching a video by Leanna K on her channel, that get the normal versus the weird, and normal as in what is common, and ultimately a lot of people just don't really pay attention to something that has depth to it, not unless it is of some sort of interest to them. So that is all. Oddly enough, I had other recordings, but I'm not going to upload them because they seem a bit too off topic, don't really contribute to anything. Although I do have a video on music as an experience, and do plan to follow that up with music as an art form as soon as I can come up with a way to better process my words for that video. Okay, so real quick, before I end this proper, a few things I do want to say. One, this obviously has been sitting for over a month now on my hard drive, largely because I've been wondering, like, is there more I could say? And the fact is, no, there isn't more I could say. So that's it with this video. And as I've said, I'm going to be uploading very soon a video on music as an experience, because there's something there that I think is interesting. That's already recorded and everything. I just had to upload the video. And after that, there is a video that I've already finished the script for. I just had to get everything set up and start recording for, which is Whatever Happened to Bands. Something that Rick Beato talked about in his his videos, and Andy Edwards in response said something about that. So I do feel like there's something that I've noticed that those two don't talk about. So that's going to be my next video. And should anyone wonder why I focus on those two, I've been doing that in my past videos a lot. It's because while I have spoken a lot about these subjects, I do acknowledge that there's still a lot of information that I'm missing from my videos. And thankfully, Rick and Andy, their respective videos do help me with filling in the blanks. So now, with all that said, that will end this video. To the few of you who have been watching, I do thank you very much. I do much appreciate your viewership.